Hello and welcome to another Sonic Lab. My name's Tosh from Wish Productions, and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of plugins from Universal Audio aimed squarely at all you bass players out there. Now, guitarists have been spoilt for choice for years with plenty of great amp sims available for them, but for bassists it hasn't been quite such rich pickings. Universal Audio, in conjunction with Brainworx, have addressed this issue and brought you a pair of Ampeg SVT amp simulation plugins. Now, if you're going to model a bass amp, then the Ampeg SVT is the mother of all bass amps. So what we have here are two plugins which basically give you two different flavors of Ampeg SVT. You've got the SVT-VR, this one here, which is the classic Ampeg amp, and this is the really well-known one, I guess. This one is, I suppose you call it vintage. The main distinction with this is that it's all tube, so the power amp is made up of 6 power tubes, and each of the channels has a further 4 valves in it. The modern version, this SVT-3 Pro, that's a hybrid amp, so you've got a tube preamp, I think there's 3 tubes in there, and a solid state power amp. So they give a very different character to the bass sound. So without any further ado, let's just have a listen to what these things sound like. Now, I've got my bass plugged in. This is a Music Master, Fender Music Master, lovely sounding bass. Quite twangy, quite a lot of character there, and that's it without passing through any of the plugins. Now, if we switch on the SVT-VR, immediately you can hear that change in character, and there's a very unmistakable tone there. Let's just switch on the SVT-3 so you can get an idea of the difference. So a slightly cleaner, more modern sound, but we haven't tweaked any of the controls yet, but just to give you an idea there. So if we go back to the SVT-VR, and as you might guess, this is my preferred of the two plugins, although I do like the way this SVT-3 sounds. As is the way these days, you've got a very faithful rendition of the actual hardware, so a nice copy of the amp head with all the controls that you'd expect to see there. These are the inputs for channels 1 and 2, and you've got a bright channel and a normal channel, which you click on. I'll just give you a quick show of the difference. A lot more emphasis on the high end there. And then you've got the controls for each channel, and there's slightly different controls for channel 1 and 2, but essentially you've got your volume, your EQ. This is a high boost. So immediately it adds that nice kind of sharp attack to the high end that is characteristic of this amp. You've got a selection of the mid-range frequency to cut or boost. So and then shift to the middle option. And then we'll push it up to the high option. And that's cutting, let's boost it, so pushing those upper mids. Quite heavy. We've also got bass cut, off, or ultra low, which is a bass boost. So immediately you get that nice classic scooped tone, and basically without much adjustment, you've got quite a nice usable tone straight away. If I just contrast that with and there's plenty of tonal shaping there, fiddling with just the EQ and these cut and boosts. Great range of bass tones. Now, you also might want to drive this, and this is where the additional side of these plugins comes in. There's an effects rack, if you click up here, which opens up a section giving you a noise gate, some high and low pass filters, and input gain and power soak, as well as cab emulation. So for example, if you wanted to drive this harder, you can increase the power soak and push up the input gain. Push up the volume, bring that down. So you can immediately get a very nice dirty tone with that. Play around with that bit. You've also got the option here to add the horn from the speaker cabinet, which is going to give you a lot more high-end twang, especially if we take the distortion down, put the power up there, hear that, off, and back on. I'm actually driving that a bit hard now, so let's bring the power down. Now you've also got a whole load of cabs emulations within here, so if I click on this menu, you can see we've got 23 different impulse response models of cab and mic combinations. And they've got a handy feature here to auto audition. If you click that on, every bar it will change the speaker and cab combination. So you can easily hear something you like and stop it on there. And let's go back to the original. So the Ampeg SVT-VR, bags of character there, and the original tone, I think I've recorded through one of these on a number of occasions, and I was just immediately amazed at how good the plugin sounded straight out of the box without even changing any of the settings. Also a nice addition is having this noise gate here, which, let's see. You can see it cutting in, doing its job. Especially when you've got the high gain settings there, it's quite a useful feature. So if we have a look over at the SVT-3 plugin, very similar in many ways. You've got the effects rack up here, which provides the same functionality. So you've got your noise gate, high and low pass filters, power soak, and the ability to push the input stage harder. And then a few more speaker cab combinations and microphone combinations to play with. So for example, let's just have a little play around with the tone here. We've got a few more options for mid-range tone shaping as well. If you wanted to cut out some of that. Quite a slappy, twangy tone there. You've also got the 7-band graphic EQ. Now this is one thing, to be honest, doesn't translate well to plugin because it's just too fiddly trying to set those bands. And this is one instance where I think this tendency to model exactly the interface as it would be in the hardware could be improved upon. You know, you could find a better way to implement that and make it more useful. But on the flip side, it does offer you a massive amount of tonal shaping options there. So you've seen the plugin tracking through it. It's great. You can get a bass sound out the box very quickly. It's also great for reamping situations. For example, if you've done a recording where you've just taken the bass DI, it will do the job of a lot of EQing and compressing in search of that particular tone. Just slap this plugin on and it will do the job for you. So here's an example of a recording I've been doing, working with a band called Eat Your Greens. So let's turn that up a little bit so you can hear it. That's the original bass sound. And that's a Squire bass, just plugged straight into the Apollo interface. Now, if we put the Ampeg plugin on, and there we go, instant rock bass. And when you hear that in the context of the and if you want us to drive that a bit harder. Examples of the different tonal options available, and also skipping through the different speaker cabs. It's worth pointing out that all the examples I've shown up to now have been with a passive bass, but the plugin responds beautifully to an active bass as well. In fact, it responds how the amps would. It's really nice actually to be demonstrating a plugin that isn't completely subtle. It's very obvious what this bundle of plugins brings to the table in terms of your bass tone. They're available now for the UAD platform. Individually, I think they're £115 each, or as a bundle, £175. Now, I love both of these plugins, but clearly my preference is for the SVT-VR. I just love the way that thing sounds, in the same way that I love how the original amp sounds. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next review.